Hello, I'm John Ryan.
And I'm JD Orr, and this is the USA All Around the World Handball podcast, Handball Talk. In the heat of the moment, I was trying to think of what the song lyric was there, and I couldn't get it. So my apologies for 0 for 2 now in the last 2 weeks
What
on
song is it? Like it was
uh
it B-52s?
the like the love train, like
Yeah,
all
we
around
were.
yeah.
Uh,
So
and it's B-52s, isn't it?
so yeah. You
Maybe.
would know
Yeah.
you would know that genre better than I would. So
Well, I just saw that the Athens independent baseball team decided to name themselves the Rock Athens, Georgia, the Rock Lobsters, in honor of the
okay,
B-52s who came out of there, along with
nice.
REM, I believe, too.
I think that's a nice. Say what you want, I think, about minor league baseball teams, but I think there's a lot more creative names than there are in any other sport. You got the Trash Pandas. You have
Oh, I can't.
there's like
Savannah
the
Bananas.
fighting narwhals. Okay, one thing about the Savannah Bananas. Let me get this under. I'm trying to get this straight. I thought that they were an actually like competition team, that they were in an actual league. And I'm now realizing they're more of a Harlem Globetrotters of baseball. So
I think
correct me if
they
I'm
they have.
wrong, but
Yeah, I think you might be right. I think they have gone on the road some now too.
they're in
Like what you're saying.
Columbus this weekend playing
Yeah.
against their mock team, the Party Animals. Um,
I
so
I
yeah.
actually I stayed in a Airbnb like hostel in Grand Junction for a few days, and guy was trying out for the Grand Junction Jackalopes. So that was kind of interesting chat with him a little bit about uh, minor league baseball.
Yeah.
I'm trying to think of it off of like Google. I wanted to name the Las Vegas Scorpions something totally different. I can't remember. It was like this little uh it's a it's an ancient animal that
Oh,
is on fossils everywhere. It's like the state uh fossil of Nevada. But man, are we off track
yep,
big time
yep.
here. Oh wow. And we've been gone, so we have to catch up. So let me share screen and see if I can pull up that highlight video of uh, of the U.S. national team taking on France.
So to catch while John getting that pulled up, we had the international break where we kind of had two different men's national teams taking place in competitions, literally on two different continents. Uh, so the one they started their journey in Norway, but we actually are fortunate with this Handball World YouTube page that they pretty much showed all the goals and saves and any real activity in their game against France, which was played after their game against Sweden, which they had a pretty good showing at. And then I'll let John carry the torch here.
Yeah, I was just trying to get to the page where they had the composition Daisy keeps, uh, and here we are where there was the USA national team starting lineup. I actually was able to watch the whole match on I can't remember if it's Handball France TV or LNH TV. I was a huge proponent of that uh, web streaming service because it was 100% free, and the only matches they didn't show were the good ones,
Yeah.
uh, Paris, Montpellier, and Nantes usually. And that was okay. I understand you're giving it to me for free, and then they made it into a paid service without those three teams, and I was like,
Like,
screw
okay.
you guys.
Yeah.
I'm down with HBL TV because what well, I do love the French league and it brings back fond memories when I was living in France. Anyway, let's stay on track here.
Yeah.
What a great production! What a great atmosphere! Um,
Packed house.
oh, I was not expecting that many people. You know, apparently, even when they play the United States, the French handball team is a draw. That did not used to be the case, um, especially when I was living there. They had to kind of sell uh, the national team playing, but not anymore. Hey, little side point there. I thought Powell was a lot better goalkeeper than Otterstrom, but I'm like going, well, maybe I don't know. What's your
I
opinion?
think watching the highlights, I kind of had the same thoughts that you had. You know, Doug's a solid goalie. Plays in Sweden and does fine for himself. But I still feel Powell is a better overall goalie. I just think he was not having a great day for this game, and Doug was making a lot of saves that probably wouldn't normally make. Maybe I don't know. I should say that they both one played better than normal and one played I think a little bit less than normal. It would be my take on it. So
And then Lucas Karlskov, new wing player
nice
for the
new
U.S.
addition. So
Yeah.
again, don't know anything about him, where he came from, what anything about it. So
Ah, gosh, I had it written down and I forget. Obviously it's either Norway or Sweden or
some
Denmark.
Scandinavian
Yeah.
country, yeah.
Um, but yeah, you can see there good atmosphere, good crowd. And boy, I was like saying, well, how will the USA do? And they got off to kind of slow start, but they fought back. And this was a real match for about 2/3 of it.
Yep.
Um, uh, I just I just got super annoyed. Somebody posted on Rasmus Hoysen's Facebook page about Serbia not getting a wild card. We're going to see the United
Uh,
States destroyed by every team, literally every team. Which I replied back, we literally beat two teams
yeah,
at the
yeah.
last World
So
Championship, so we literally aren't going to
well,
get destroyed by everyone.
yeah.
Um,
Yep.
and I put a link to this video. Um,
I think the other piece with that is like, the wild card, I think this personal opinion, but I think the wild card should go to a country that's might not necessarily be there on a regular basis. Serbia in Europe, there's already a heavy European domination. One of those wild card spots should be going to, countries that don't have as easy a path. I shouldn't say it's easy for the European countries, but there's more slots allotted to them because of the known, prowess that they have. So,
well, the wild card was brought into existence to make sure that a country like Germany, who wasn't going to be in it once because of Australia, um, to make sure that such a large TV market is there.
yep,
That's that's the reason why the wild card is. Now that they've expanded it to 32 teams, they can do some stuff like help out the U.S. with the Olympics coming up. Which, oh, by the way, we'll get to the NORCA Handball Championship. Us sending a B team there might very well have kept Serbia out because if we had won that, uh, there would have been another wild card since we already had one.
yeah,
Um, uh, but anyway, what Abu Fafana in this match?
12
Good
goals.
lord, I,
It's crazy.
I'm 12 for 18 shooting. Um, I you know you're playing the world's best team or the world's second best team, and you score 4 or 5 goals, and they know Abu surely a
Yeah.
lot of those players, since Abu's
Or at
dual
least you
citizen.
learn your lesson after the first 3 or 4 times he does his
You
move.
just said, all right, this is a one-dimensional player. We're going to shove him hard the next time he comes in, and he just kept scoring
Yep.
and scoring. 12 goals. I I tweeted the French announcers after the match to say, hey, when somebody plays like this, what is he doing in the second division? And then for many years languishing. I say languishing. I love defensive specialists, but he wasn't even playing on offense most of the time in
Yeah.
the second division in France. And he goes out against France and nails 12 goals. Absolutely firecracker performance.
And it wasn't against, the other pieces, say what you want, like whether France was, kind of walking through the motions or whatever, but like they still had all their guys out there. They had all
No,
their goalies
they,
out there.
they only take 14 to the Olympics. Nobody's going to be walking through the motions
Right.
in this situation. I was concerned. I was like, oh crap, France is going to pour it on because people are fighting for Olympic spots. Yeah, some people already have it, but there's some good players that are not going to make the Olympic team for France, and this is their time to shine and make a difference. If you're one of those guys, in the 10 to 18 range on the French depth chart. So
Yep.
it's a friendly, but still, um, we made them work. We really made them work.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, it was definitely, I think there's still, just from watching these highlights, and there's still some points where, okay, you can tell we're still not quite nearly on a France level, but there's a lot of moments. I mean, that first half for sure. I mean, it was, I think, a 1 goal game for, or at least a couple goal game for a large portion of that first half, and even carrying into the second half. And it's definitely impressive, because what I've told people is that you look at the core of this team that we have. Those guys have been together for almost 8 years now, 7 years, for a large majority of that core. I mean, you got guys like Abu and Sam who've been playing together for 10 plus years now. So it's like there's definitely the chemistry aspect, and not to mention they're continuing to play at pretty high levels. So
Yeah.
that's what you like to see.
For me, the real revelation is when I saw Abu and Ian Uter play for the first time at Auburn when
Hmm.
we played
Against
Canada.
Canada. Yeah.
It was an immediate revelation to me, like, oh boy, these are two good players and they're going to be around for a while. And um, and Ian Ian is the glue on that team that makes it work. And when Abu can score like that,
Oh yeah. Yeah.
we are a tough team. We are a good team, and they're both special players. And to me, that's the core of the team. Not saying we don't have other great players, but those two guys, when they play like they did in this game, um, they make everybody around them better. I mean, we never got a chance to talk about that game they played in Spain against the Spanish junior national
Yeah.
team, which was a worse performance than this.
Yeah.
Um, uh, and the difference there, no Abu. Uh, you know, I know the game's changing, and you got guys like Gitzel and Pitlick that are sneaky, crafty guys that somehow break through every time they get the ball. But you still having a guy that can bang in shots from outside like Abu
Yep.
Fofana, that makes a huge difference. And it makes a huge difference for the US. You get the wings more involved, and you get more openings on the 6 meter line for the
Hmm.
pivots. It's yeah, wow.
And again, just the big thing is, just like any other sport that involves someone out going making a play. Abu's going to go and take 10 shots a game, no matter what. Like that that's coming, and if he's hitting them, he's hitting them. And if he's not, it is what it is. But you know,
Somebody's
I'm
got to
pretty
take them.
confident. Or so exactly. Some shooters shoot, and so Abu's going to shoot, and so otherwise the ball just keeps working its way around. You're going to get a passive call, and then someone's just going to have to chuck a shot with three guys in front of them, and it's not going in. And so that's where, having somebody that can generate offense single handedly, it's nice.
Yeah, the question I have in my mind is how much better, and I hate putting this parentheses in there, if at all. I hate putting that in there.
Yep.
Can can this team get? Um, because uh, some of these guys are in their prime,
Hmm.
and some of these guys are sliding out of their prime. And We don't know what the next 2 or 3 years are going to give us, because I don't think the guys coming in behind are quite as good as what we have right now in some key positions. Um, yeah, I'd like to think it's just a steady,
Yeah,
straight line
yeah,
trajectory of us getting better. But I'm
but
I'm wondering if
it's
we're
gonna.
it's going to plateau, and I'm
Mm,
wondering how how sharp a plateau or how long a plateau is it going to be. I want it to be a big mesa, you know,
yeah,
for the next
yeah.
for the next 4 or 5 years. Um, but at some point, this team is going to peak, and I don't know when that peak is. What's your take?
Well, I know there's still a couple, I think, good role players coming up as we've seen. As we get when we talk about Mexico, some guys that'll be good players that just need more time to develop because they're still young. But I look at this team in particular, and I think there's guys like Domagoy that are, definitely there are some moments in this game where you can see defensively he was, you know, the more agile players, he's not quite able to keep up with that. I mean, he's in his mid 30s. It's just nature of the game. But for the most part, I think you can keep a lot of the key guys, keep them coming back and contributing, and they're continuing to play at a pretty high level. I mean, Boo's playing second league France, Ian's playing second league Germany. Uh, Sam is now with Adamar Leon, as from what I've seen. So you got a lot of guys playing with a lot of good clubs. So I think uh, pieces to add. It's just maybe one guy here, one guy there. It's not like it used to be where we got a lot of openings and potential. So it's tough. I had a conversation with somebody the other day about trying to crack into this squad, and I mean, even trying to crack into the team that went down to Mexico. Um, that team was comprised of a lot of guys that have been on our junior teams or our senior teams in the past, and they just were the next rung up or next rung down, excuse me, from this team that was playing in Norway and France. And those guys are still pretty solid, still playing at pretty high levels in Europe. So aside from you know Benjamin Briff and Ty Reed, but everybody else, it's
Yeah,
tough to crack. It's tough to crack
I
that
I
code.
had this guy call me the other day, and he had gone to like the tryout in LA, and he was talking about how like he had a shot to make the team in LA, and I was like, going, dude,
Okay.
I
Yep.
haven't I haven't seen you play. You've never played the game before. You have no chance.
And the hard part is that I've had this
And
discussion
I
with
was like, I'm sorry to be so negative.
it's
I'm just trying to explain it to you up front.
right.
Um,
And it's one of those things that our coaches for sure, they're not gonna, pull any punches with, if you're playing in Europe, they definitely value that more than playing here. Regardless of your skill level, it's a different game here versus over there. And I know like it's hard when I got college guys coming up and they're, not sure they want to play anymore after college because they're like, what's the point? Like if I'm not going to make the national team, what's the point in playing? And so we got to find a way to keep people engaged and finding outlets for them to continue just even playing handball because the pathway is it's not an easy path.
well, I mean, I don't know if we want to get fully
Yeah, too.
sidetracked on
Yep,
this,
yep.
but I'm wondering if you look at some of our other sports, and in some ways, I love the European system where you can play semi-professionally into your 20s, 30s. You can play as long as
Hmm.
you want. Um, but it's not so much an up or out system like we have in the US.
Yeah.
That said, I mean, if you're not playing professional football, do you keep playing, you know, recreational tackle football? Yeah, I think it exists a little bit, but for the
Very,
most
very
part,
minimal. I
yeah.
yeah.
And then I had the question. I think I was asking Michael King. I was saying like, well, what about lacrosse? People that are done with lacrosse, do they have adult recreational lacrosse? He was like, yeah, they do, and it's it's bigger than you think. And I'm like, I've never heard of it. I mean,
Yeah,
people
like
people like to keep playing some their
yep,
old sport, but a lot of people will just move on in their lives. And maybe handball isn't the best sport in the world uh, to recreate with. I,
right.
at a certain point,
It's not light on the body, that's for sure.
it's not. And is it the end? I guess what I'm saying is it the end of the world if somebody has a good college career and then calls it a day handball wise? Um, if you compare it to some of our other sports in the U.S.
No, not
Um,
necessarily. We just gotta, we're just such a small community that we need to. I'd like to keep people in the community in some capacity, whether it's on or off the court. So that's kind of
yeah,
my thing is find a way to keep people engaged. But we don't. Well,
yeah.
we got other stuff we need to talk about here before we go down
Ah,
rabbit
right.
holes.
Good point. Now, can you see the chart here put up?
No, I'm just seeing the YouTube page still.
Wow. I got to do a new share. My bad. I forget about that.
But yeah, well, John's getting that reshared. I think that'd
You
be a
see it
nice
now?
discussion. Yep, I can see it now. So
All right. So yeah, so we sent a B team to Mexico to play in the championship, and here's a summary of the athletes and the goals they had against the teams we played, and their total goals on the far right hand side. And then we have the scores at the bottom in green are the matches that we won. Red are the matches that we lost. It kind of gives a good summary. Former defensive specialist, I will say that scoring goals is not everything,
hmm hmm
but it is a good proxy. Gives you a good idea of what different players were doing, and so this is an overall summary, and I'll put that in the show notes. You can see Oliver Edwards with 31 goals. Uh, pretty reliable, pretty reliable wing. Um, and I would expect him to push for playing time on the A team, if you will.
Yeah,
Um, and then the other interesting thing is this Rodrigo Campos guy who I've
yeah.
never heard of
I
before.
was gonna ask you the same thing. So
Uh, 21 goals, left-hander. Apparently, he is from Spain. Now,
okay.
coincidentally, Luke Bolte played with somebody named Rod. If you Google Rodrigo Campos
Yeah.
handball, a Portuguese player comes up, and he
Oh,
played with Luke
with
Bolte.
oh, jeez. So
So I messaged Luke and I go, look,
you know this guy?
you know this guy? He says, hey, it's not the same guy. I played middle block with him on defense, and it would be pretty weird for him to
That
say,
would.
hey,
Oh, by
guess
the
what?
way,
I'm an American. Never to say, guess what? I'm an American
yeah,
too
for the whole season.
for a whole season.
Yeah. Oh my
But
gosh.
another solid player, reliable scorer. He shared duties with Ty Reed. Played pretty well. I actually have another. See if I can get this screen up. Um, well, let me shut off the France USA video. Uh, Here we go.
But the other key piece that I wanted to comment was that both goalies scored, which is I think a crazy.
Well, we played. We played
I
some. We played some 7-on-6, which and teams we played against played some seven on
that's what I'm
six.
saying. So the teams
Yeah,
we played against did 7-on-6. So
yeah. So, um, here's what I did is I took the total goals and I put them by position where people primarily played, so you can get a sense of the shot distribution or the scoring distribution for the team. Um, and Amar played well. Um, Pretty reliable, right back or left back, I should say.
yeah,
Uh, not as dynamic as Abu, um, but you give him a good opening, he can score. Um, Played pretty well. Benjamin Edwards had a solid tournament. Uh, Maxim McCauley Uh, he looked good offensively. That's the first time I've seen him play extensively at circle runner. He looked pretty good. He knows how to move and get open. Uh, and then another interesting couple other interesting players I hadn't seen play before. Martin Brunvold
Hmm.
uh, did all right, and then also Max Olson is a left-handed uh, right back for the team, but gives you a little bit of a grouping
Yeah.
of the athletes, and you can tell. I mean, it's a given to me that Oliver Edwards, Maxon McCauley, uh, Benjamin Edwards, and then Amar already is there, and we're kind of thin at backcourt. I definitely see those guys pushing for spots, and obviously Rodrigo at Campos. I don't know how old he is, but um,
I mean, my thing is just between Edwards, Tyree, and Campos, that's, what, 70 goals of the, I don't know how many you had, 100 and, I think you had 150 something. So almost half the goal distribution came from the wings off of either what I assume to be fast breaks, sevens, and, just general ball movement. So, um, I don't know what their shooting percentages were, but it sounds like they're probably connecting. So 168. So
yeah, another thing that I was thinking about as I saw this team play, and I talk a little bit about how the U.S. is kind of a golden generation now, and I realize this team is younger than
hmm
than the team that we sent to Norway, and but
France.
and yeah, in France, but this is the level of talent that I would think that we would, if you were to go over 25, 30 years of USA handball and you were relying entirely on dual citizens, I think this is the kind of talent that we would have more likely on average than the team we had going toe to toe with France.
Yeah. Yeah. I think that
And
this is a fair representation and a pretty good, collection of guys as well. So,
yeah,
um,
and let's say you add a couple more players because realistically you'd have guys in ranges from 33 to 20. Um,
I mean, McCauley's 18,
well, yeah,
19,
okay,
maybe.
yeah.
Either way. So
You're
you
looking
get
at a
sorry.
senior team. What's that
Yeah.
senior team going to look like?
Yeah.
And you know, we talk about what's the expectations for the U.S. as a whole. Um, you add a couple more good players to this team, and they battle Cuba, I think, for the NORCA slot at a World Championship. And
Yeah.
and I think what we have right now is abnormal. I, I that's my take. These are all solid players that we saw playing in Mexico in this tournament, but they were more. It was more of a level playing field with the teams that they were up against.
Yeah. Yeah. Which I think, I was talking with Martin Brannick about it after the fact, and he made a good point of like, this team and this finishing position is something we would have been, I think, accepted of, or just, that would have been the bar basically maybe like 10, 15 years ago, like, to come in and be in the podium conversation, but maybe not quite win. So I think that that's a realistic, for that to be the case for our essentially second team. I think it's a pretty good spot. So
Yeah, if you look at the team that played at the 2018 NORCA, um, that team had Sam Hodderson as the leading scorer playing center back, and I think we finished fourth or fifth
yeah,
out of seven teams. And that team had more of a Auburn flavor at the time. Um, but this team here that we saw just a few weeks ago, much better than that 2018 team. Um,
so
that
I'll play devil's advocate here. So you made a reference to the Auburn flavor. They finished fourth or fifth. This team finishes fourth. What's the in the grand scheme of things? Is it better to have the Auburn flavor and finish in that spot, or have a group of dual nationals and finish in that spot? So that's the
Well,
debate there.
whether better or not, and I'm not saying, the dual citizens are better people or the Auburn people are better
Agreed,
people or
agreed,
someone that
agreed.
grows up in the United States is
Right.
better. But as a development, ideally, I think we want to get to the point where we have enough people playing in the United States, maybe not at a austere residency
Yeah.
program that wasn't the best functioning one. But we have enough players that we're taking the best players. Only a
Regardless.
handful are
Yeah.
coming in from Europe, or maybe just half, you know,
Yeah.
as opposed to like 85, 90%, which is what we have now. Um, and this goes back to what we talked about several episodes is the bias of where you come from and what your experience is. We're Midwestern
Yeah.
guys.
Yeah.
We tend to like Midwestern guys. If you're an expat guy that lives in France, you're buddies with
Gonna
another
gravitate
expat.
towards those guys.
You
Exactly.
gravitate to
It's
the people that
nothing.
you have things in common. Doesn't make you less American.
Yep.
But yeah, you can look at this and say, yeah, I'd like to see more college guys, on this roster, or maybe some guy that graduated and played overseas because he had potential. I'd like to see a better grouping of
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
Um, and
Now, I'm not going to shift the conversation unless you're ready here, but I think there's another team that we'd like to talk about that is mostly on the Native American,
what?
born and
Hey, if you
raised
want to go really
American.
old school, there was a Native American team for many years.
Oh,
Hey, no
really?
kidding. No kidding, Native American team. Um, there was this gosh guy that won I think he won the mile Olympic medal. Can't think
Okay.
of his name now. He was Native American. His daughter played handball,
Wow.
and the Native American Council had a handball team. Um,
That's very cool.
yeah, yeah, they had
Okay.
they had a couple guys that were candidates for the national team. I played with one guy for like a year. He was with me in Colorado Springs. Um,
That's wild.
So,
Man.
so that Native American, as opposed to people happen to live in American and they're
Yeah.
native to it. Got to get our
I'm
definitions right.
just gonna keep digging
Um,
my hole here. So
yeah. Well, we talked so much about the national teams. We probably needed to. We only got about 6 minutes, 6 minutes left. So maybe we'll have to tackle that uh, again in greater depth. Um, let me
well, I guess I was gonna
before
say, I don't know if you want to talk about the beach. Uh,
yeah, I'm gonna pull that
okay.
up right now. Um, if you can talk while I'm
Yeah. So while
finding that.
John's getting that ready to go, the men's and women's beach national teams took to the what is it, the IHF Beach Tour down in Brazil. Um, so they were playing some games down there, and we had pretty good showing, I think, from the men's side. The women's side was a tough time. Not the normal roster for the women's side. I would say they were uh, definitely a lot of newcomers. I think I think both men and women had two or three people that were new national team members each. Um, I don't know exactly where the men finished.
So
Well,
so both the
right there,
both the
they both finished
both
last.
they both finished last, but the men's team was competitive. They
Yeah,
were in a lot of their games, and that's one of the vagaries, I guess, of beach handball is you
you
can
just got to win the right sets. You
you
win one
got
set
yeah,
and you go to a shootout.
and
So
you got to
anybody
win
can
that
beat
shootout.
anybody.
Yeah, the women's team very uncompetitive.
It
Um,
was tough,
it was
tough to
tough.
watch.
Yeah, and I know Christine Mansour wasn't there, but they were missing some other players as well, and they were just totally outgunned in all of their matches.
Yeah,
Actually, I think they played Puerto Rico close the second time they played them in the fifth and sixth place match. With men's, you know, they were in
they took
most
a
of their
they yeah
games.
they took a pretty pretty good contingent of their
Yeah.
group. So they had like a pretty competitive team. So I know when I would tune in or whatever, it was all close. So that for me, I was not prepared to see them finish sixth. But looking at the teams, you know, Brazil, Germany, Qatar, those are all pretty, world. I don't want to say world powers, but com true competitors on the world scene.
Yeah.
So it wasn't an
You know,
easy
by a
slate.
strange coincidence, I think most of those teams are going to be in their pool at the World Championships.
Okay,
So
so it's good
maybe
tune up.
maybe Coach Henson was being clever and sandbagging a little bit ahead of the World Championships.
Uh,
Who
he's a
knows?
doctor. He's a smart guy. So
Um,
uh,
but I think it was a little bit problematic, and I think we briefly talked about this before. NORCA Championship, the this event,
yeah,
World Championships, and then the Paris thing. All coming within 3 or 4
4
months of each
months.
other
Yeah.
for a woefully underfunded program. So
Well,
better
that's like
to.
I was trying to get some of these beach guys to come to Vegas for, the U.S. Handball Union National Championships, and they're like, I got too much money already to be spent on beach this year and more beach
Are they going to have a
expenses to
beach
come.
element to that Vegas thing?
We were talking about it, and I don't think we're going to do it this year. It wasn't as much of a push to make it happen. Plus, we're trying to keep everything close to the venue at Westgate, so there was some options to get close by, sand courts, but the wasn't top of the priority list, I would
It
say,
could
to
be
try to.
brutal. It could get brutally
That's
hot
what
too.
outside, like it's not gonna, it's just not gonna work.
Yeah,
It's too dangerous. So,
yeah.
so we're
What's it? I guess we got like a minute and a half left.
yeah.
What's it looking like now for that tournament too?
I think Mike said last time I talked to him, there's somewhere like 9 or 10 teams in open and 5 teams in elite, and I think 4 women's teams. So, um, I think he's trying to finalize who's signing up here this week, and then get schedule put together. But should be a solid slate of teams. I know our motto. We're in the open division, and looking at the teams, anybody can beat anybody. You could finish anywhere from first to last. So it's pretty. Should be some good competition. So
Yeah. Well, we did get to our nationals topic, which stirred up a little bit of
bit of
conversation.
controversy. Okay. Well,
No, I think I like to think it's put things in perspective for everyone.
yep.
But I guess we'll have to devote a full show
Full
to that
show. Yes.
next time, or um, we'll see where we get. Some interesting comments I've received from people, but for the most part, either they're being real quiet or they agree with me.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
So
but you'll have to wait for the next episode. Subscribe to the podcast on your favorite platform. YouTube, if you want to get this earlier, because of the effort it takes to do it, to get the website up and running. It's quicker to do it on YouTube.
yeah.
For JD Orr, this is John Ryan, and thanks for listening.